Hey ladies, this is Rebecca and Alyse Nelson with Amethyst Integrative in Stamford, Connecticut, and we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about how to follow your spirit and a little bit more about intuition to touch a little bit more on the spiritual side of intuition as opposed to the business side, as Beth Wade and I were talking about the other day. So this is the second part in our series. I'm going to let Alyse introduce herself and tell us a little bit about how she got started in this career and a little bit about what she does.
Hi. So actually my office, Amethyst Integrative, is in White Plains, New York. I live here in Stamford. I'm coming to you from my house right now. I went into massage 7 years ago. So I went back to school a little bit later in life. I was about to turn 40. So I just told you all my age, but that's okay. And I was at a point in my life where I was pretty stagnant and I was in a not great situation with my relationship, etc. And going to massage school really woke me up, woke up my intuition and woke up my business sense. It just completely changed my life. So once I went into business for myself, that's when I really started becoming who I am meant to be and what I'm here for. So
I know, and I have learned so much, like just from, gosh, we've known each other for a while, but I've learned so much from you ever since I've, gotten to know you. And I've always had an intuition, right? Like we all do as women, but I didn't really know how to really follow it, or I didn't recognize certain things. And, talking to you really helped me recognize these, I call it signs from the universe. I think what do you call it? The spirit.
Signs and symbols, messages, it's all part of the same thing. It's all part of your connection to the divine.
Yeah, and I really love talking about this because it's a constant learning process for me, because I consider myself a spiritual person, yet I don't really meditate. I don't do energy work at my spa. So I know that each body worker has their own style. Some people may be more like medical therapists, but interested in polarity therapy or Reiki, or some people may just be relaxation therapists or do cupping therapy. But there's so many different ways that we can implement, intuitive body work into our practices. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. But I find that a lot of people have trouble even knowing what intuition is. Do you want to give me your take on, what intuition is and how people can recognize it within themselves?
Sure. So I coach people on this, on listening to their intuition and trying to figure out what that is versus, the noise that goes on in our head. So the way that I differentiate it is that it's not listening to your head, and it's actually the more in touch you are with your intuition and the more you're open to your signs, symbols, and messages from the universe, God, or the divine, however you want to call it, it is the least logical thing possible. So if you come up with an idea that seems to be out of nowhere and it seems like a crazy idea, but somehow you feel really excited by it, or just really in tune with it somehow, that's your intuition. And
they always pop up at the most inconvenient times.
Definitely. A lot of people tend to get messages and intuitive hits while they're in the shower. And I think that that's, the water is a conduit, first of all, and it's also it's kind of like a forced meditation, right? So you say it's difficult for you to meditate. It's difficult for a lot of people to meditate, to find that time to sit somewhere quiet and om or whatever. But when you're in the shower, you're usually by yourself. Not always, but and you're focused on just washing your hair or your body or whatever it is, and you're not tuning into all the outside distractions. So when those hits come, and that's what I tend to call them, like intuitive hits, those like strikes of genius, and sometimes they come in your sleep. Like you don't have to, and that's what I tell my clients too, you don't have to sit in lotus position and om to meditate. You can do other things, like sometimes being on a long drive, that's meditative, or gardening, or walking on the beach, anything like that. So that's when I feel like your intuitive hits come the most strongly. And the other big way to differentiate it is they're usually not fear-based. So our brains kind of mess with us all the time, right? That's where our negative self-talk comes in. That's not your intuition. Anytime that somebody's telling you that you're a piece of crap or you can't do it, or you know, don't do that because people are going to look at you a certain way, that's not your intuition.
Oh, devil on your shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's important to know what isn't your intuition as much as it is to know what is, to start to really, you know, use that muscle of intuition.
And I'm sure we could do a whole other video on self-sabotaging behavior as well. So
Yeah.
speaking of little devils on your shoulder.
I can write a book about that myself.
Yes. But like I find, especially in the massage and bodywork industry, and especially women, we tend to, I don't want to say we tend to not follow our intuition, but we tend to question it or over justify things, or we tend to be like a people pleaser and just not have boundaries around ourselves. How do you think people, like women, can just, like, we just have trouble saying no, right? Like we get a creepy text or email from a client, online people are, oh, do you think this guy's a creep? Well, if you had to ask a group of people on the internet if you think he's a creep, he probably is, because as Beth says, your belly button doesn't lie, right? Your belly button never lies. So why do you think is it that people, especially female body workers, tend to talk themselves out of following their intuition?
I think a lot of it is how we're raised. We're raised from little girls. And I know you and Beth talked about this a little bit too, about how to, you know, go give your aunt a hug, and you really
complacent. Yeah.
I don't want to do it. And you're kind of forced to do it. So I do believe that, to use the muscle analogy again, since we are body workers, that it is really a muscle that it's a gift that we are all given. But if we don't use it, that muscle is going to atrophy. So once we start practicing it and really using it and honoring it, that's really important. Then you're going to see more and more, you know, useful ways that your intuition is going to help you. So to use that, the boundaries analogy, like if somebody is going to be asking you to do something that you really feel like you don't want to do. In terms of business too, we've talked about that. Anytime that I've done something that felt not just out of my comfort zone, but like, this isn't my ideal client, or, you know, somebody asked me to discount my services by a lot, or a male client was coming in that I just didn't feel quite right about. Anytime that I went against that inner knowing, it's come out bad. And nothing like, thank God, disastrous has ever happened. But, you know, it's like a discomfort feeling that I have during the session. And I know I'm not the therapist for them. And I know that it's just, they're not going to come back. So I think it's really important in a business sense to really listen to that too. And I don't really go by my gut. I go by my heart. And I really let my heart decide, because I believe that that's really where your divine knowing is, in that part of your soul. And I think sometimes your stomach lies to you because it's so connected to your brain that when you get like nervous or anxious or fearful about something, that your stomach can knot up. But just because you're scared of something, or you're uncomfortable, let's put it that way, if you're outside of your comfort zone and it's bothering your stomach a little bit, it's important to really check in with other parts of your body too, and say, is this just my brain talking to my belly? Because I don't know about you, but like, I have a really sensitive stomach. If I'm excited, like if I'm going on a trip, my stomach goes crazy. And if I listened to that and I was like, oh, my gut's telling me not to go to Mexico, I wouldn't have had like some of the best experiences of my life. So
I'm going to say the best tacos, but okay.
Yes, that too.
I'm the same way, actually. Like, I have an extreme, like, whenever my gut is really kicking in, or my intuition, like, I have an extreme physical reaction. And one reason why I used to shy away from doing videos so much is because my chest, and you can like look through some of my older videos whenever I first got started, my chest would break out in hives. I mean, like, just splotchy red hives. I'd get a migraine. My stomach would start killing me. I mean, I get a really intense, really, really intense physical reaction whenever my intuition is really kicking in. And to touch on what you said a little bit earlier about working on a client that maybe may make you uncomfortable, is of course important to check in and like ask yourself why. And I always ask myself, what's like reasonably, what is the worst case scenario that could happen? And for me, the worst case scenario that can happen is that client is just not going to rebook, or they're just not going to come in. So I think it is really important to ask yourself, what's the worst case scenario that's reasonable? Because we tend to like overanalyze things and just blow things way out of proportion, you know? And I'm not one for doing things just to make somebody else feel complacent. I used to be that way because I'm a people pleaser. I think most of us are in this industry, right? We're people pleasers. But it's so important for me not to do things that's going to make me have a feeling of resentment afterwards. And I have worked on clients where they're not bad people, but I knew they weren't the right clients for me. And I would just resent it, and I would just get mentally exhausted. And that's no way to like run a business or, you know, continuing to have passion for your career. And I think it's so important for women to realize it's okay to say no. It's okay to follow your gut, and it's okay. Nobody's ever going to be 100% in agreement with you, you know, and it's so important to know that you can't cross oceans for people who won't jump puddles for you. And I say that all the time.
It is the truth.
Yes. And I know, like, when we're chatting sometimes, you're like, oh, Spirit sent me this sign. Do you want to talk a little bit more about, like, how Spirit or the universe or your intuition, you know, can, like, manifest itself into your daily life? Because with me, I see sequence of numbers all the time. Or, you know, when I'm thinking about somebody, they'll just pop up in my phone and text me after 3 years of not hearing from them. Are there any great examples that you see in your personal life, or what therapists can like look for just to sort of be more in tune?
Yeah, and there's so much. I think that we lose sight of how connected we are to everything and to each other. And the fact that all of our cells and our atoms are the same as, you know, the stars and the universe, and we're all part of this collective consciousness. And I think once we accept that, even if we don't 100% believe it yet, if we accept that as a possibility of being a reality, and, you know, astrophysics and what's it called? What?
Neil deGrasse Tyson in the ancient guy.
I mean, all that stuff. Science is proving what we believed in spirituality for eons. You know, it's really interesting what's going on with quantum physics and astrophysics and stuff like that. So that being said, once you accept that as a possibility, you can start playing around with it, just like we do with manifestation. I mean, there's so much out there that's really like magic, that's really real. I like the fact that you keep a journal. Like, you write down your different signs and symbols and messages. That's a really cool way to look back on it and say, like, this is real. I did that for a while too. I'd like to go back to doing that, because there are no coincidences. I was going to a chair massage event once, and it was my second day in a row. And I was like, my shoulder was killing me from doing chair massage, and I did not want to carry this chair in. And I was like, universe, please send me somebody to help me with this chair. And when I got to the school, there was a guy at the door with the door open saying, hey, I thought you might need some help with your stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I got full body chills. And his name was Angel. I was like, oh, you can't make that up. Like, the universe literally sent me an angel. So that's another thing that I wanted to bring up is chills. That's always validation for me. We learned in massage school, you know, the erector pili muscles, those tiny little muscles that make your hair stand up.
Prickles.
No, what was that?
That over here we call them goose prickles.
Yeah, goosebumps, goose prickles, chills, whatever it is, it's all the same thing. There's no physical reason for those to go off. Like, yeah, when you're cold, but if you're warm in a room and all of a sudden you get chills,
did you just got them? Actually, yeah, I just got them. Like, here,
so that's always validation for me that I'm either on the right path, or that, you know, when I'm doing a reading, if I get the chills, I'm like, oh, okay, they just validated for me. That's always my indication that spirit is with me. Or you can say that that's your intuition. I mean, there's The difference between intuition and messages from above are very similar. Intuition really comes from within, and your crown chakra is what connects you to the messages from above, and those are more like signs and symbols from heaven, like you talk about, or from ascended masters, spirit guides. But one thing that you and I have discussed before is the fact that you can actually ask for certain symbols that you want. So if you're a very visual person, you can say, ask your guides to send you coins. That's a big one. Or feathers. I'm really big into angel feathers, even though I hate birds. They terrify me. And different color feathers mean different things. And when I ask for an angel feather, I always think
about Alyse. Never bring her to a aviary.
Oh my gosh, the bird place at the Bronx Zoo? No. Nope.
See, with me, I get, and I've sent you pictures of them before. I get those fake like $1 million bills. I always find them at my apartment. And I just think it's so interesting. And I have a whole collection of them because I'm really big on money mindset. So I'm always finding coins and these fake, too bad they're not real, these fake bills everywhere. So I know we've been going back and forth between intuition and signs from spirit or from the universe. So it's good that you gave like a, not really a tangible, but like a visual explanation of the differences between them, because I know we're going back and forth and they intertwine together so much. So I think it's important for people to understand, the difference in those as well.
Yeah, the intuition comes from within, but it's a gift that we've been given. That's a divine gift. So it is one of our senses, but it's a sense that we don't consider all the time.
Do you think people are like born with it, or do you think it's like, I know you said it's like a muscle that has to be exercised. Yeah. Do you think that, I guess, we tend to be more empathetic. So do you find that people that are more like empathetic or in a career like, being a nurse or body worker tends to have a higher intuition? Or do you think it's like all within us the same amount, we just have to, because I remember our first go around when we were trying to record this video, you were talking about how, we're all like born with it, right? But in this country, we tend to be so shut off towards it compared to like other countries. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Oh yeah, I was talking about my friend Andrea, who's a Reiki master. She's from Indonesia, and when she spent time in Indonesia, she was explaining to me that there's no division between spiritual and physical. So people walk around all day with daily interactions with spirit. So that's either their ancestors or, saints or God or whatever you want to call it. And here it's like we're just so separated that we feel like we need to go to church or go to a synagogue or sit in prayer to be connected, when in fact we're connected 100% of our daily lives. We just aren't clicked into it because we're so wrapped up in making money or, finding our life partner or whatever it is that are really just distractions to really why we're here.
Yeah, I call those society standards. So that's a whole other video though.
Yeah.
And me being me, of course, I love talking about marketing. And I know that you've told me several times about some awesome things that you've done as far as implementing your intuitive body work into your business and doing parties and stuff. And of course, I would love to like share that with some of our viewers and let them see how, I don't want to say how easy it is, I guess, to monetize on implementing, there's a bee. How easy it is to monetize on implementing intuitive body work into your practice. But do you want to tell the viewers about some of the parties you've done or some of the services that you offer in your business that has, worked hand in hand with hands-on body work? And
yeah, I just want to backtrack a little bit. And we had talked about this in the last go around too, is that it really needs to be authentic. I don't want anyone to see this and say, oh, I'm going to, set up a card reading booth at my next massage event and, do readings all of a sudden. Whatever it is that you feel comfortable doing, whether that's Reiki or energy work or chakra balancing, if you do pick up messages during your massages, maybe learning how to incorporate that, but not doing anything forced or inauthentic. But it took me a while to figure out, and I'm still developing into what it is and how it is that it's going to manifest in my business. But I began with sharing messages with people that I picked up while I was doing massage. And I always did card readings on the side, and I listened to everybody who told me, oh, don't tell people in your massage business that that's what you do, because people are going to be so turned off by that, and they're not going to see you as a professional.
Well, good. Let them be turned off. Those aren't your ideal clients, right?
Exactly. So as we all know, there is, infinite abundance in terms of clients out there, and the ones who belong with you will find you. And the most important thing is to really be yourself. And anytime that you're going to turn that off, like if I tried to be a sports therapist, like I wouldn't be who I am. I would be, my intuition would probably shut down at that point. So some of the things that I've done, instead of doing chair massages, I've done card readings. I make different bracelets, like for this one has like the Hamsa for protection and different chakra balancing things. I do crystal healing therapy, also energy work. I have the Amethyst biomat that I use and incorporate into my sessions, and I explain to people the scientific. Yeah, it's awesome. I explain to people the scientific benefits of it, the fact that it's FDA approved, and what it does scientifically, and then I explain what the more esoteric benefits of it are of the crystals. And not that the crystals aren't scientific. I'm realizing that there is a scientific, they are scientifically proven to have vibrations and affect us.
I don't offer energy work at my clinic. However, a lot of my friends do, so I refer out a lot. And, I tell clients, look, if it doesn't help, it's not going to hurt. So go ahead and give it a try, because you've got to be open to it to start off with, in my opinion. You can't just, walk into a session of energy work and be completely turned off by it and closed off by it, because that's just a sure way for it to fail. And the couple of people that I have referred to my colleagues to try Reiki, they're like, well, it didn't work. And I'm like, well, were you excited to be there? Were you open to it? And they're like, no, I was just on guard the whole time. I'm like, well, that's why it didn't work, And I had to explain that, the placebo effect does work as well. Like, you do have to be open to it. And I feel like some people are just not repulsed. I didn't mean to say that. Like, yeah, they're like repelling it. It's like they almost want to hold on to their pain and suffering, because it's a comfort. It's a known.
100%. And I can tell when I'm doing a scan of somebody's body and I'm trying to give them energy healing, even if most of the time they have asked for it, but sometimes it just comes through my hands anyway. I can feel that, and it is an actual repulsion. It's just like when you put the two opposite ends of the battery together, and the magnet, and they push against each other. That's what it feels like to me when I'm trying to do energy healing. It just bounces right back. And when they're receptive, it just goes right in, and it's like they're like soaking it up and sucking it up. But energy work is a whole nother thing. Like that, it gives you what you need in that moment. So I've had the experience where somebody came in for Reiki and they wanted to have a relaxation experience, and it turned out it had a lot of stuff come to the surface that they weren't ready to have come to the surface. So that was part of their healing, and that's what they needed, but it wasn't necessarily what they went in wanting. Right. So, I think that happens with massage sometimes too, right? Somebody comes in and they're like, oh, can you just work my upper body? And, everything else is fine. And then when you go to their lower body, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I needed my quads worked on, or whatever, So you get what you need sometimes in this work. That's
I remember you had did a reading for me, and you sent me a video of the cards afterwards, because I wanted to share it with a friend. And I was going back and looking at that video a couple of days ago versus it was probably like 4 or 5 weeks ago when you did that, and it was like a completely different meaning at the time you read it, and then what I'm going through now, and that's very interesting to me. I love I know a lot of therapists out there love like oracle cards. And I just find that like so interesting as well, how you can just translate that to, you know, what you're going through in the moment. You know, sort of like horoscopes, like it's a little, I don't want to say, to me it's a little vague. It can apply to everything, but it really like heightens your awareness about what's going on in your life with you in that particular moment. And, you know, I think you're able to really like, you know, face those problems or recognize those red flags like head on. At least for me, that's how I feel. I'm like, oh my God, I knew this, but now it's just confirmation of what I already knew. And that's,
right,
you know, really comforting for me to, you know, be able to recognize that and have, you know, give myself a little action plan for it.
and whether you choose to listen is another story.
Okay, that's a completely different topic.
But that's the same for everybody, right? Like you can have a reading, and I just like with the energy work, with the repulsion, I've had experiences where I've, you know, read people, and every single card and every single message I'm getting is their relationship is not working. And this just happened to me recently. And she's like, no, everything's fine. Everything's good. I think the fact that she had a relative that brought her in the waiting area, even though she couldn't hear it, I don't think she really wanted to have that like emotional breakthrough. But then finally at the end, she like was honest with me, and she was like, it's not good and I don't know what to do. So, you know, we can block our messages as well. But again, using the muscle,
Yes.
if you're getting the same message over and over and over again, if you don't listen to it, the message becomes louder and louder, and the lesson becomes harder and harder.
And I have a good example of that. One of my clients, she's been with me for 3-4 years. We talk sometimes during a session, just, you know, light chatting every now and then. I've known her for a while. She's been a good client, always gets 90-minute massages with me. And one day I was like, can I massage your abdomen? She's like, why? You've never done that before. And I'm like, well, I won't do it if you're, you know, if you're not open to it. She goes, no, I think it would be interesting. We can try it. So I did. And then she starts crying. I'm like, do you want me to continue with the session or end? And she's like, no, it's okay. You can finish. It's all good. And I had saved it for the, you know, last part of the massage. After the massage, she told me, Rebecca, you know, I had a miscarriage a couple of weeks ago and I haven't been able to tell anybody about it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like something was telling me to work on you, and I'm very flattered, you know, and humbled that you let me do that. And she's like, you know, I feel like I can finally open up to my friends now and let it go. And I'm like, and I honestly, I, you know, don't work abdomens a lot. And it was just so profound for me too, just to all of a sudden something just clicked. It's like, why don't you ask her if you could work on her abs today? I'm like, okay, like out of nowhere. And that was really interesting to me too. And it made me realize I need to be more in tune with those little voices and, you know, not doubt myself either. So,
that's a perfect example of how you can use your intuition and how those hits, as I call them, come in. You were in the zone, you were working on this client, and you obviously wanted what was best for her in that moment. And her guides were probably guiding you to do what was best for her in that moment. And the abdomen's a very vulnerable, guarded place. So she needed to be very open to even allow you to do that. And you had developed that trust enough with her that she allowed you. So that's a really beautiful story.
So flattering.
Aww.
So do you, speaking of like readings and stuff like that, I know a lot of our people, we tend to immerse ourselves in books. Do you have like a good book recommendation about like following your spirit or about intuition or more energy work? I know I recommend people business books all the time, but I haven't really found a good book that I like yet or that I've gotten into as far as the spiritual realm yet.
I love anything by Carolyn Myss, MYSS. She's written a ton of books. She's a medical intuitive, but she's just an awesome, powerful woman, and her writing is really on point. And she talks about all different things.
We can post that link below too, because I know I'm going to want to check that out.
And I wrote down another book and I can't remember. Oh, this is a Buddhist monk that I follow, Pema Chodron. What is the book that I'm reading right now? I'll post the link of it. It's basically about fear. And it's it's been really powerful, and it's more of, you know, the Buddhist sense, not spiritual. Also, my teacher, I'm doing an intuitive master coaching class right now, and her name is Emily Stroya, STROA, or I'll post that also. She's written a couple of books about that, and meditating is really the best way to really get to listen. To writing down books, like I said, it depends also on how you hear, how you learn. Like if you're more of an auditory learner, to ask for songs, to really start playing with it and recording and keeping track of your progress with that. But I'll post those books or those authors.
I know, like, personally for myself, I can't just show up online and meditate. It has to be guided meditation for me. And I know that you had posted a great video in our Facebook group about you know, a meditation just to sort of clear out all the negative stuff, and I have that saved to my phone because I love it so much and I use it all the time. But you'll have to log into the group to see that, because we're not going to spoil it for you here.
The 92-second meditation.
Yes,
that's a really good one. And I do with my clients also do some guided meditations. I did it with my fiance this morning because he's like, I really want to open my crown chakra up more. So we did a chakra meditation before he went to work. That was cool.
Awesome. And speaking of like chakras meditation, I know intuitive work, you know, reading cards, connecting with people, connecting with spirit, it can be really mentally exhausting a lot of the times, especially if you forget to ground yourself. So like, what is your biggest challenge as a business owner to like overcome that mental exhaustion? Because I remember whenever you were telling me that party you did at that lady's house afterwards, you were just so worn out because you did so many readings. So how did you get back to normal? How do you like conquer, you know, that mental exhaustion that
nearly killed me? Like, I was being a people pleaser. People were like, oh my God, like, can you do one more? Can you do one more? And I did, and I really shouldn't have, because I pushed myself, and you know, people think that it's a break from massage. I've had other massage therapists, oh, I wish I could do readings and I could just sit down for an hour after massage. Or, like, it's just as exhausting. It's a different type. It's like a mental exhaustion, but it actually does tap my body. So I do the same things that I would do for, you know, rejuvenating after massage. I make sure I'm hydrated. I always bring water in with me while I'm doing a reading, and I just drink constantly. I do earthing, where I go put my feet outside in the ground, or if it's warm enough, I'll go to the beach and put my feet in the water in the sand, which is beautiful. Living in Connecticut, I'm right by the beach. Or taking a salt bath, and I just use like regular Epsom salts with some Himalayan sea salt in the bath, and I'll do that 92-second meditation, and I just literally see everything going down the drain. I use Palo Santo wood and sage to cleanse myself and my space afterwards, after each reading, and usually before each reading as well. And I'll cleanse the person that comes in, making sure that I have enough sleep, and like number one thing is like setting your boundaries. So the next time I went to do that party, I said, I'm only doing 6 readings. Like, that's it, end of story. And if you want more, I'll see if I can bring another friend with me. And I've done that too. I've brought somebody else with me if they had a higher demand. But you have to listen to your body, just like with anything else. And if it feels like it's too much, don't do it, because I was out of commission for like 2 days after that.
Yeah, I've had days like that, but I totally understand. What about some, you know, really good resources that you've come across for, I guess, learning about energy work or intuition or Reiki? Do you have any good like websites or programs that you've taken? I know we already went over books, but or like maybe a conference or a trade show or an event that you went to?
I've always sought out, and again, I really manifested them. I was asking for a group to practice my mediumship with about a year ago, and one appeared on Facebook, and I was like, whoa, and I had no idea. So I had to drive, you know, some ways to get there. But I think on meetup.com there are some, you know, local places, and you can put in psychic development or intuitive development and see if anything pops up. In terms of online, what's the name of that? I think it's called Sound On. I'll post that too. I'll make a note. But I did a couple of sound healing or something like that. It's audio books online and courses that you can take. And I did one with Carolyn Meese also about medical intuition. Barbara Brennan, I'm in the middle of her book right now. It's called Hands of Light. That is a really intense book about energy healing, and it comes off at it from a very scientific point of view too, which is really interesting, because I really think that's where it should come from. Like, yes, we have all these, like, as you woo woo, yeah, which is all well and good, but to be able to legitimize it to people, which, you know, we shouldn't have to do that, but it helps us not to just come on as like a wackadoo. If there's really like some science behind it, it helps people, you know, cross that threshold into, oh, okay, this isn't so scary.
Yeah, we only know what we're exposed to. So if we're only exposed to, you know, learning, I mean, we're in school, right? Like, we're learning science-based research. We have our curriculum. We don't hardly have prayer in school. We don't have like, you know, intuitive studies or anything. Even in my massage school, I think the closest we even got to any sort of spiritual studies was like Tai Chi, maybe, was like the closest. And I think we had a 2-hour course on polarity therapy from a guest volunteer teacher. Like, we didn't learn anything like that. So, and I learned best online personally. And yeah, there's also a website too. I'm sure everyone has seen the Facebook ads floating around for Gaia. And I've checked out a couple of their videos before, and it's really interesting. So I know a lot of people may find that to be a good resource as well, because it's all about like intuition and energy and chakras and, you know, that the woo-woo stuff, but it's also a lot of, you know, they have their scientific research and back it by that too. So that's definitely a great resource for some people who are more visual based, who like to watch videos.
What's that other one, the Udemy?
Yeah, Udemy or Udemy or Udemy. Yes, they have some great courses too on like, you know, Reiki, chakra healing, things like that. It's not gonna make you certified in anything, but it's great leisure learning, and you know, it's a platform where you go through the courses, and they're pretty great as well. So, and I know like on Facebook events all the time, I see like sisterhood meetups or like, you know, pagan meetups, stuff like that. So you can always check your Facebook groups, Eventbrite, meetup.com, sisterhood circles. I mean, there's really unlimited ways to like get involved and like start really surrounding yourself with these type of people and learning more about it. Because I'm a very visual learner. I am very visual, and I'm very like, you know, I don't want to say sensual person in the form of like sexuality, but you know, like sense, like I like to touch things. I like to hear it, smell it, feel it. So that's how I learn best.
Me too.
So, but
yeah. And you can also create your own. So if you don't see it out there, I mean, I started my own because I didn't feel like driving up to where I was taking the class. I said, I'm going to teach one, and I'm going to have guest speakers come in. So I did in my space, I did a psychic and spiritual development course, and it was so fun. I had people, you know, doing oracle card readings and talking about women's intuition, and it was really, really great. And I, you know, I decided to, instead of saying, oh, there's nobody around me who does this stuff, I said, I'm just going to create it, you know, and it's the law of attraction too, which we all know about. Whatever you focus on is what you'll create. So if I wanted to sit there, what?
Like buying a new car, it just you see them everywhere.
Exactly. So if I didn't, you know, if I focused on the fact that, there was nobody around that was like me, that's what I was going to just continue to be. So if I put it out there and I said, oh, you know what, there are lots of other people that are interested. And it was really cool to have these people, even some of my clients that I didn't know were into that kind of stuff, to come out of the woodwork and start, you know, practicing that stuff with me. So it was really, really fun. And I would recommend anybody doing that.
That's awesome. I have a good friend who's an herbalist, and we want to do a smudging class and teach people how to smudge. And we're going to have like sage, rosemary, bay leaves, lavender. We're going to make our own sage bundle, you know, smudging bundles. And then we're going to have like a little, you know, 30-minute yoga session and 15-minute guided meditation. And they pay one price, and they get access to all of it, and wine, of course, because, you know, got to make sure the ladies are hydrated, right? But there's so many different things that you could do as far as a business standpoint to to find like this target market of people. Some of the people that were emailing me about it interested, I'm like, I didn't even know you knew what sage was. Like, this is awesome. It would be so great to have you at our class. And we decided to do it during a full moon, to make it like a full moon meditation yoga and like make your own little sage bundle. So that's going to be really fun. I really can't wait to do that. So I'm going to have to update everyone how that goes too.
That's so fun.
Yay. And speaking of readings and stuff, I do want to let you ladies know that Alyse in our VIP group for Badass Bodyworkers, she does monthly readings for our group, especially for us. So she'll answer your questions and do like a general card reading just for us ladies. And she also has a really awesome, really awesome deal for us too. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and show you guys what she has going on. Excuse me for... Okay, did not mean for that to pop up there. Excuse me, I'm just, okay. So this is what Alyse is doing for our group for Badass Bodyworkers, in case you are very interested in having a call from her. Sorry about my slow Wi-Fi, guys. So she'll do a 30-minute phone call, a virtual reading for you guys for $44. Regularly it's $75. And Alyse, do you want to share why you chose that $44 amount? Because I thought that was a pretty cool story too.
Yeah, well, the number, it's still coming up all the time for me. The number 44, where, you know, Rebecca was talking. What?
I said, it's your angel number, one of them. Yeah. We love talking about angel numbers.
Yep, it's definitely my angel number. It's been coming up a lot. And for me, I mean, you can look it up and see what other people say, but you have to see what it means for yourself. For me, it means that I'm on the right path anytime I'm seeing that number. So it's also 8 is the number of abundance, and it's half the number of 8. So I wanted to incorporate that too. And 4 + 4 is 8. There are a lot of cool ways to look at it, but yeah, if you notice numbers throughout your day, you'll see that there's some really cool things that come up. Like if 5s come up for you, that's usually the time of change. And it's big change, especially if you get 3 5s in a row. That means like there's a huge change coming about. So it's really fun to play with. But yeah, 44, that's my number. So I'm sharing it with y'all.
Sorry. Cool to be. Yeah, I remember you said that class that you did at your space, you charged $88 because that was like the number of abundance, and it was, you know, the multiple of 4. And I remember when I got my invoice in from a company from some products I bought, I sent you a text message. I'm like, look, my total was like 88. That's your number. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And this is another resource too, ladies, that I really love. This blog right here called Loner Wolf. And it's such an amazing website and blog, and I read their articles every day, and this is a good article too, how to trust your intuition and make important life decisions, which I obviously need to read back over. But this blog, Loner Wolf, they have some amazing resources and really, really, really great posts that I think that a lot of people can really resonate with as far as intuition, setting boundaries, things like that. So that is my favorite resource online as far as getting into the spiritual realm of things.
That's cool. I didn't know that one. I also wrote a blog post about a year ago called How to Live a Spirit-Based Life. That was so cool. What is that, dandelion?
Yes, it's a dandelion, and I've been blowing
it. It's a message from spirit.
Yes, I know. I'm like, that's exactly why I caught it. Look how cool.
That is so cool.
Every time I see a dandelion, I do, you know, I make a little wish on it. So that's really cool.
Yay. So I think I shared it on the VIP group, but I'll share it again if you want.
Yes. Oh, this has been such an amazing chat, and we're gonna like post the links below to those books, and I'll post a link below to a couple of those websites and everything as well. And as far as how to get in touch with Alyse, she is on Badass Bodyworkers, of course, and her website. I think it's Amethyst Integrative, right? You might wanna.
We'll take you to my website.
Okay, I think we cut out. Now I'm echoing.
ALYSE'S will take you right to my business website, or AmethystIntegrative.com. But my name, if you see me on Facebook, just type in my name.com.
Sounds great. And definitely, if you are having any sort of internal questions that you want Alyse to give you some feedback on, her readings are absolutely amazing. She really is one of the most intuitive people I've ever met. So if you're having a little little issues in your life or need some answers or a little bit of guidance, Alyse is definitely the person to go to. So definitely take advantage of that offer because she is pretty phenomenal. So
Thanks, Rebecca.
Can't say enough amazing things about you, woman.
Redhead power.
Oh, yes. You know what? I was just thinking about that the other day. You, me, and Beth were all gingers. I love it.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
But just connect with us online, ladies. If you have any questions, reach out to myself or Alyse on Badass Bodyworkers, and feel free to peruse her website if you need a little bit of inspiration. And if you are kind of wanting to implement integrative body work into your practice, you definitely need to go to person for that. And I'm sure she would be more than happy to answer any of your questions.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. We look forward to chatting with you, ladies. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below.